Delaney.
Well, I'm excited to welcome Lori Holt today to have a little chat with me about some of her experience working alongside myself and working alongside her with her pet sitting business, Stowe Road, offering doggy day camp, overnight boarding, daily walks, etc. Welcome to the call, Lori. I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about how you got into this profession.
Sure. So back in 2021, I was up to my eyeballs in debt. I think I had about 40K of debt, and I have three kids that were obviously younger at the time, and I just wasn't sure how I was going to ever get out of the mess I had created.
Mm,
And so I started thinking about side hustles that I could do on top of my corporate job to kind of help pay off the debt faster. And one of the things that came up when I was searching around on the internet was dog walking. And I have a dog myself and I enjoy spending time with her. And I said, okay, we'll give it a shot. I can do this on my lunch breaks. I can do this in the evenings, on the
right.
weekends. At the time, that was like right when everyone was coming out of like lockdown and people were starting to go on vacation again when they couldn't do it in 2020. So, what I thought was going to be a lot of dog walking turned into a lot of dog boarding because everyone needed their dogs watched, the ones that they got during the pandemic.
Right.
So, lots of puppies, lots of young dogs. And that first summer in 2021, we had a ton of dogs boarding with us. And we just really grew to love having a bunch of dogs around all the time. Eventually, I did start getting those requests for dog walks once everyone started going back to work that fall. And it has evolved into, dog walking, boarding, doggy daycare, which we do during the mornings here, and just vacation care in general, because not every, I take care of cats too. It's not just dogs, and not every dog
Sure.
is a good candidate for boarding. So we do a little bit of everything.
No, that's awesome. How long ago did you do the full transition from corporate into entrepreneur?
So last June, I quit my job. I actually saw my Facebook memories. It came up yesterday that it was like my 1 year
Oh, wow.
anniversary of quitting my job. So it was very exciting. It was kind of I already was kind of gearing up to go full time. I knew that I wanted to do it. I just was hoping to wait a little bit longer. But some stuff happened at my corporate job that was kind of making me a little nervous. And I said, you know what? Now seems like a good time to jump in. So that's what I did.
Oh, for sure. Well, great.
Mhm.
It takes a lot of courage to take that leap, so well done.
Cool. Thanks.
Why and how if you recall, did we first connect?
You friended me on Facebook. I was actually a little like nervous accepting your friend request because I saw that you are a coach, and I was like, oh God, he's gonna try to sell me on something, and I was like, I don't know, but I accepted the request and I checked you out first. I saw you had a lot of really great content, and I think the thing that really sold me on you was you put up a free video about subscriptions for doggy daycare, and I was like, well, that's interesting. I had never thought about that before, and I watched it and I got a lot of really great information for free that you were putting out there. And I was like, well, geez, if he's putting this out for free, I can't even imagine what kind of content he's putting out behind the closed door, so to speak.
Right.
So I think at that point, after I watched that video, I reached out to you with some questions, and you were happy to answer them. And then I think you asked me if we wanted to set up a call, and kind of just rolled from there.
Yeah, for sure. That's perfect.
Hmm.
Well, and that's what I like. I mean, I could appreciate where you're coming from, with the initial friend request, like, oh, here it comes. But like, I honestly try to consistently lead with value to
Hmm.
a point where people are like, hey, like, I want to know more of what's going on, because I like what you're doing and I see. So it's never like, hey, buy my stuff because it's great. I'm like, hey, how can I help you? And I mean, from multiple standpoints, I like it because sales has never been like something I've been excited about. And this feels just a lot more in alignment with my personality as far as like, hey, what can I do for you? And then in turn, if you like what's going on and you want to learn more, let's chat. And that's
Yeah.
essentially just what happened.
I appreciated that you weren't trying to sell me on anything because so many people out there do, and it's annoying. So thank you for not being annoying.
My pleasure. Okay, so before we started working together, how were things in the business? I know you were growing and things were going quite well, but if you can give me a little bit of information about like where you were at before we started working together.
Yeah, very much a fly by the seat of my pants kind of person, which works until it doesn't.
Sure.
And I always said, like, if I was going to quit my job to do this full time, I would need to be making at least the same amount I was making there, obviously with the hope of making more. So once those numbers started happening, I felt a lot more confident about quitting my job. And then I think last July, I had like my highest grossing month ever at the time. And that was like my first month of doing pet care full time. And
Right.
it's like, okay, how do I keep that momentum going with that number? Because that was a great number to have your first month out, you know? And so I was always happy when those numbers were high, but I wasn't really doing anything specifically to make them happen. So that's where you came in as a business coach, right?
So would it, to somewhat kind of summarize, um, you at some point felt like you might benefit from some structure and like maybe plan or consistent planning on how to replicate good months?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to work with a business coach even before you and I met. And I actually had met with a couple other people that, while they seemed like nice people that probably could help me, I really knew I wanted to work with someone who was in the pet care space. And so when I met you, it felt very much like a good timing, right? I was like,
Sure.
yes, this is exactly it. So I knew that you would have a lot to offer. Like I said, your free content was already amazing enough. Like I just hoped that you would continue to have amazing stuff in your course as well, and you do. So.
Yeah, for sure. Perfect.
Mhm.
So, like for yourself now, how do you feel like things are in the business? It's been about almost 90 days since you started.
Well, since starting, I launched those subscriptions for daycare and dog walking, about 3 months ago, and I've got 10 people on subscriptions right now, three for walking, seven for daycare. And altogether, that comes out to about $3,100 a month. And
Of
that is
consistent. Yeah, that's great.
at the front of the month. So that's the thing with the subscriptions is
Right.
they pay ahead of time at the front of the month. So it's just like, and that's actually right around the same amount I was making at my corporate job. Every month I was getting about $3,200.
Oh, wow.
So I'm already like at the front of the month making the same amount I made at my corporate job. So every 2 weeks.
Well,
So I guess, yeah,
that's
yeah.
one of the reasons why I love the subscription model for numerous reasons. But one of them is like that predictable income stream gives you a little bit of a padding, like mentally, to be like, okay, I'm not starting from scratch every single month. And when you continue to build stuff on top of other things, then you get a lot more consistent income. So, I mean, great job integrating that and offering that as one of your services. One of the other things I wanted to mention that I don't know if you wanted to share anything else about where the business is now, but something came to mind for me.
What is it?
Well, in that first month that you were here, you had your best month ever, I think, by over 3,000.
Hmm.
So it was pretty significant. So your highest grossing month by like $3,000, where you smashed it out of the park. So like that was significant and you earned it and you hustled your butt off that first month because I saw you showing up to all the calls, doing all the things on social media, reaching out to all the people. And it's like you really hustled and earned that. And I just wanted to, congratulate you on having your best month ever. And that work that you did to get there was, spectacular. And the you reaped the rewards from it. Was there anything else in the business that you want to mention as far as where it's at now?
Mm, I just think that I am having more conversations with people in my community. Like I've been trying to friend request as many people in my city's Facebook groups and surrounding cities as possible. And lots of people, the first month I want to say I wasn't getting too much traction with that. But in the next 2 months after that, people have started messaging me that I friend requested and they're like, oh, I don't even live in your city, but I'm recommending you to my dentist who does. And
Right.
my son's school principal is recommending me to other people. And so I feel like it's really starting to gain traction. People I don't even know are recommending me because of like the content that I've been putting out. And I'm getting lots of compliments on, oh, your setup is great, or oh, I love all the pictures of the dogs. And I just think you got to really put in the work and you will see the benefit. It just sometimes takes a little bit of time. It's not going to always be right away.
Well, it depends what step you're working on, right? And that's the distinction. So, for example, the first part of what I teach people in my course is reigniting their existing audience, right? It's because I know building an audience takes time. You can't do it overnight. Uh, Obviously, there's different ways to do that, and how much time depends. But, like, for example, that's why the big focus was on month 2 and 3. And some of month one is like build your audience, because that's going to start to yield you a positive result, in anywhere between 2 weeks to, 3 months. So you're starting to see some of those returns now of investing in other people, sharing some content, people learning, where they're coming up to you and messaging you, being like, "Oh my gosh, like great job." And obviously, that's a lot of positive feedback to continue doing those things.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, were there any unexpected benefits from the course that you didn't anticipate? If there weren't, no worries. We can just move on to the next question.
Well, I think the comment the thing that got us starting to work together, you had posted like, who here wants to earn like 2 to 3 times more like in the next 90 days? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so that was initially, I think, what caught my attention was the idea of like making more money, right? Who doesn't like to
Sure.
make more money? But there are other additional benefits to working with you. Like on Friday's call, we talked about the setting goals, which I am familiar with setting goals, having been in the corporate world. Like they're always
Sure.
like, oh, get your SMART goals in for the new year. And it's always like, oh, I don't want to do that. But setting goals is important because otherwise, how do you know that you're progressing if you don't have them? And so talking a little bit about like not just the financial goals, but like what do you want to see happen in your personal life too? And
Mm.
like right now, I am trying to just like shift back my attention to why I started this in the first place, which was for my children and, having a good future and a good life for them and getting them set up for success for the future. And like if I'm never home, like they're not spending time with me and I want to be present more. So kind of like refocusing my energy in my business on like trying to be home and present more with my family and kind of like what services can I offer, not offer that will allow me to do that. So just kind of a mindset shift too was an unexpected benefit of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty. One of the biggest things that interested me in business was after I realized sometime that I could literally carve out the type of days I want to live, how available I am to my family, et cetera. Because I used to work for a railroad as like a conductor, and I had
Mm,
no control of anything, and that really frustrated me. So that was one of the like core values of mine, is like I want to be able to choose what my day looks like, when I work, how I work. I still work a lot, but I do things that I want to do, so it's more interesting, exciting, and fueled with passion.
mhm.
All right. If someone was on the fence about considering taking my marketing accelerator course, which is the course that you took, would there be anything that you might tell them?
Well, I think you will see a return on your investment almost immediately, just because you are now focusing more on the business, right? Like how to push it forward. It's not just about like going out and doing the work, but also like you got to do the stuff behind the scenes to make it happen. I think
Mhm.
a lot of us forget about how important like the admin part of the business is. Like we're so busy being in it, we're not working on it, and
Right.
that's a valuable shift for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just putting an emphasis and focus on proactively setting yourself up for success in your business, which is really hard for most people to do. And it takes some, shifts of mindset. So that's where, the real changes and benefits happen, is when you learn how to carve out the time to proactively plan the business. Every single time I've done it, it has significantly positively influenced my life and my business. And I did it for a long time, where I was flying by the seat of my pants, and it worked until it didn't work, like you said. And then I was on the verge of burnout, and I wanted to burn it all down. I spent 10 years building up a lucrative dog training business that I painted myself into a corner with the way I was operating, that I was exhausted. I was making good money, but I could have worked half as much at the railway for the same amount of money that I was like, what am I doing all this for? So I found my dream, I met it, and then I was like, this is what I expected. And I almost quit. But then I
Mhm.
realized and had some assistance from someone to be like, hey, maybe there's a possibility that you could structure this better and, make your goals financially, but also not burn yourself out. And I was like, really? And then I did it.
Mhm.
So awesome. Well, I appreciate the time you took today to chat with me about this. And, watching your progress has been great. And I always appreciate your messages and stuff when, good stuff's happening. So I thank you for joining, giving me a shot, taking the leap, accepting that initial friend request, and then, getting to where we are right now.
Thank you for your help. I appreciate it.
Awesome.